Perfect. Thanks. Yes, my name is Isa, and I'm from Novo Nordisk. So, favorite film? I like that you pointed out the magic wand, PGD, because one of my favorite movies is the Harry Potter franchise. And that is especially because I got 2 kids, and they have literally just been introduced to the universe, and watching their wow with the magic universe, I really, really like that. But yes, I was supposed to give the presentation together with Andreas. We are both from Novo Nordisk, representing different arms of our research and development organization. What I hope that you guys will take away from this talk is how to include line of business in the digital transformation, the digital journey, and the importance of this. And I think we have touched upon it already about the culture, getting people involved, etc. But I will start by providing a bit of context. So Novo Nordisk is over 100 years old, 102 or 3 actually, based in Denmark, and we are one of the largest companies in Denmark. Very much known for our research and drugs within obesity and diabetes. Wegovy, Ozempic, you might have heard about those names. But why I'm pointing this out is because, as I also told to Phil about earlier on, the larger the company, the older the company, the more difficult it actually is to turn the ship around. And that is also a bit what we are facing in R&D, especially in the research part of the organization. So, if we dig a step deeper down to the R&D organization, well, then we are very much focused on progressing our pipeline, as most companies are. Obesity and diabetes is our main focus areas, and around, I think, 10% of the workforce is currently employed in our R&D organization. R&D was actually merged together last October, where we went through quite the reorg. So previously we had research and we had development, 2 separate areas doing very much their own things. Development, very structured, GXP, regulated, got process mapped, process mimed, digital transformation, all going, AI in clinical trials, etc. Research, however, where Andreas and I are placed, much more exploratory, much more Wild West, much less data governance, much less guidelines, rules, and structure. So what happens when these two arms merge? That I will talk to you in just a second. Legacy research, so where Andreas and I are from, consists largely of 2 areas. First is the biology. That is where I'm placed. It's called global research. We actually also work quite dispersed within our organization. We are located at different sites. Each sites have their way of doing things, their own application layer, own processes, structures, etc. But also within our verticals, different therapy areas, etc. We also have our own way of working and doing our research. So very dispersed. The other part of the legacy research is therapeutic discovery. That is where Andreas is placed. It's chemistry. It's about compounds. It's about formulations. Much more screening, more structured than research due to the larger screens of compounds that is needed. Both of these areas work in the same part of the value chain in Novo Nordisk. So I guess you're all familiar with like going from idea to submission. Where we are placed is especially in the early part, the less regulated part, and the more exploratory part. Each playing our different roles, biology versus chemistry. However, since we are located in the same manner, we are working close together, which I will just briefly point out to here. So my area of the business, we are doing the biology research. It's disease understanding, it's mode of actions, pathways, all about the biology, identifying targets, pushing that over to Andreas' area in the chemistry, that is then doing the drugs, compounds formulation to see which modalities should we actually move on with. And why am I telling you all of this? It's because in the ideal world, you should think that we actually speak the same language on the data side, on the digital side, that we have the same digital applications, the same storage systems, the same data foundation. But in reality, we have not. We are not talking together, neither in the two areas or within areas. We have, unfortunately, a history of what PDG also said, digital tools being placed into line of business without having the actual business needs articulated, which means that last year we were in a situation where there was like a digital tech fatigue amongst our line of business colleagues. We have organizations that are supposed to work closely together, not speaking the same language. So, what to do? With the reorganization that we had last year, we introduced a new term called digital leads. That is me, that is Andreas, from our respective areas. And then, what is a digital lead? Well, we asked the same question when we got the role, and they were just like, you tell us. And we're like, okay, we need to invent what we actually want to do. We both had the experience that we need more line of business empowerment, more business ownership, more purpose of our digital application, why we need to implement AI, etc. So what happened was Andreas and I were placed as like the one person to cater to hundreds of people in each of our organizations. We need to communicate closely with the research IT, digital application layer, data foundation, data governance team, IT lab support, etc., being like the point of anchor. But what we quickly realized that we will be bottlenecks if we don't get this solved. We cannot know exactly what hundreds of people's needs, pains, barriers are. What are the priorities? What is to be handled and tackled first? So we developed in each of our area a setup with a matrix organization where we have a line of business representatives called topic leads. I will get more into it in a second. That actually support us in terms of the medium and long-term strategies, the needs of the subject matter experts, so the scientists, to so have a more of a bottom-up approach towards how we are integrating with and collaborating with our research IT organization. And one of the reasons that we're doing that, of course, it helps our daily work, but it's very important, as I also said, that it's done with a purpose. It's the business who knows their needs, their priorities, what to be tackled first. So having this kind of setup where we have dedicated people to collaborate both with us but also with research IT through translator roles, that actually enables a much better understanding and a much better collaboration between research IT, digital products, product teams, and the researchers, because now they can actually talk to each other, articulate needs, test ideas, etc., instead of just enforcing new digital solutions towards the business. Then I will talk just shortly about this topic lead role. In order to do that, I will just take it up an abstraction level and just say that both TD and global research, we, again, when we were placed with this assignment, we discovered that we actually lacked digital strategy, vision, ambition within our areas. So what we did was visualizing where do we actually want to go. And luckily, Andreas and I, even though we did it in parallel, actually agreed that we want to put data, digital, and science together, having a good and solid data foundation, having these three aspects work closely, and ensure that we are and will continue to be a data-driven drug discovery organization, meaning that we will and continue to be taking decisions based on our data and our insights. In order for us to be a global drug discovery organization driven by data, we looked into which capabilities do we actually need to master, which ones do we need to set check marks with at the overall perspective. We did it in parallel, but again came very close to the same result. So we basically looked at our different line of businesses and said, like, okay, what do we need to do? We agree that we need to do proper laboratory management. We need to be able to handle our physical samples. We need to have digital registration of these entities. We need to be able to produce, capture, and work with our research data. We need to be able to make sense of it, do in silico modeling, analytics, visualizations, etc. And we need to have structured, harmonized, and simplified workflows where it makes sense, of course. We are in an exploratory part of the business, so there will be differences, of course, but standardized and harmonized where it makes sense. And then you can see that TD got the master data management that is embedded within the data and scientific knowledge management in global research. So again, having this solid data foundation, data governance, ownership, etc., is also key. And where does this topic then comes in? Well, the topics are actually the different, the different areas here. And for each of these, we actually have identified topic leads. So the topic leads will set the medium and long-term direction within these areas. They will ensure that the digital applications that we currently have to ensure that we put a check with the capabilities, that we have that they are on par, that they have functionalities to cater to the different workflows that we do. Then we also have a solid network of subject matter experts, so our scientists, our lab techs, who is also a key role in supporting when we're doing POCs or rolling out new solutions to help adjust and customize the solution, tailor the needs of the business. Going back to this, we are different in therapeutic discovery and global research. So TD has this very solid setup with topic leads, SMEs, and then they have the solution leads in the middle. Solution leads are, you can say, super users of applications. So that will be like a go-to person for our ELN, for example. It will be a go-to person for our LIMS system. However, global research, not as structured as therapeutic discovery, much less time at hand, and now I lost it, but again, less mature. So because we don't have dedicated resources to do it, because we have limited time, we are actually continuing with the topic lead setup, but we are establishing communities that are business-led and business-driven, made specifically for scientific workflows. So we're establishing a community for qPCR, for flow cytometry, for functional assays. And the reason that we're doing this especially is because we are doing these type of standard analysis differently across therapeutic areas, across different geographic sites, etc. And we know that in order for us to make use of data and data foundation properly later on, we need to work in the same manner. We need to be harmonized where it makes sense, etc. Then we also have fair ambassadors that helps to support initiatives on data fairness. Yes, my final slide is this one. Because What Andreas and I are doing is we are collaborating more, and we are collaborating, which is collaborating more than what was done a year ago on the data and digital side across our therapy areas. So what we're doing now is taking these topic leads jointly, doing a common upscaling of them, because they come from different backgrounds, different expertise. Somebody has been there 20 years, others just 2 years. They got different appetites in terms of what they actually want to do. But we want to ensure that they, the topic leads, actually speak the same language, that they have a toolbox and a vocabulary to talk to our research IT and our tech departments as well. They need to have a common understanding of what a business case is, what brings value to the business, and how do we actually quantify this. Further, they also need to have the same understanding of the industry, best practices, standard, etc. And we are teaming up with CIFO to do that. We will have an initial upscaling workshop after the summertime. So it is also a bit of a cliffhanger, potentially to next year, to come back and actually tell a bit about how this has materialized in reality, successes, potential awareness points, etc. But I hope that you have taken away a structure to at least include the organization part, the digital part, and the tech side. Not as much as the processes, but I did have a picture of a value chain, somewhat of a process. But other than that, any questions?
Thank you, Isa. Questions for Isa? Look, here we go.
Andrea here. So it's very nice to see that business now is taking the lead about digital, not the IT. How do you see now IT in your in your company? How do you perceive that as a commodity, still doing SAP, all the stuff, on the fly incident? How do you see that now?
Yeah,
with AI especially.
Yeah, so I see it more as a collaboration at the moment. We are collaborating much more than we have done before. When we are working with IT, or at least our research IT, we have different points of contact, so to say. So we have teams specific for the digital applications. So we know that at least our topic leads, that will be like their point of contact. Then we have the other part of IT, so to say, that is more on the lab support, where we are currently trying to make them understand that we need solution managers for the non-GXP as well. We got a solid one for the GXP, but that is something that I think we still have some work to do in terms of how we actually see our need as well, because it is a process. It's something that we are ongoing with. And with the reorg that we had in October, a lot of the digital resources, the IT people, data engineers, were actually taken out of line of business and placed centrally, right? There are some things that are working and that are much more simpler now, but we are still a bit struggling with making IT realize that we can take ownership and responsibility. But when it comes to doing compliance of a lab PC being GDPR compliant, for example, we don't have the capabilities to do that. And that is something that we are still working on.
Philippe Hubert, UCB. First of all, big up for your presentation, because I think it was very open and transparent, and I really appreciated that. I was wondering, what is the exact role of the topic lead or solution lead during implementation? Because I think I understand the demand management part, but when it comes to actual execution, do they do like testing, training? Do they also do design? Do they even do implementation? What is their exact role?
Yeah, so the topic leads are not like digital capabilities as such. They are people from line of business. It could be like senior scientists, department managers as well. So they don't do the hands-on work. They are more strategic thinkers, so to say, that will then team up with the product and solution together with us, the digital leads, to say, what should we do? And what is the need? What is the priorities in this topic? So, for example, for cell line registration management, etc. My topic lead, he's a department manager, and he's like, okay, I want everything to be digitalized and automated. So my vision now is that we will have like automated nitrogen freezers, and people are not supposed to manually input and register. So ideally, I would like to have, when we get a new cell line in, program to screen the PDF, and it will just be stored automatically in the system, and everybody can see what we have in our basement. So that is like his vision and setting the scene, and I can say, yeah, okay, I can actually hear a lot of other people have the need for this. This is something that we will pursue, and go in that direction. But when it comes to the execution part of it, then we will team up with the digital applications that we have today. We will team up with the research IT department, and they will do the actual execution. And then we will have the subject matter experts in and actually test and be hands-on with it and make suggestions to functional edits or counseling on the ontologies, vocabulary that we need to use, etc. I hope that answered the question.
One more question.
Thank you. Thank you very much for sharing your framework. Really interesting, and I think it resonates with many of us, and many of us are going through something similar. I just wanted to clarify, because I didn't quite get it. How do you differentiate between the topic lead, which we now have just discussed, and the product owner, because I saw on your slide that, and also maybe a second one, which might be connected to that. Where do you place accountability for the solutioning? So when the digital products are developed, from what I'm hearing, it's on the topic lead and the business side, and then you hand it over to IT for execution. And I wonder where the feasibility loop is happening. So, yeah. Thank you.
Very good question. And the whole governance and governance setup around it is also something that we are still working on, almost there, but not quite clearly. To answer the first question, so the product managers, the product owners, is within our digital organization. So they actually manage the product day to day. The topic leads don't as such have anything to do directly with the product. We will have like business owners. So IT solution ownership will be within line of business, because it's their process that the product support. But the day-to-day, sort of say, like management of the product, as well as the product strategy, is placed within the digital organization. But they will then interact closely with their business counterpart to understand which direction should the product go in, what should the priorities be for the next planning cycle, etc. But it's something that it's not fully on par yet, but it's something that we're working towards on. In terms of ownership, accountability, responsibility, etc., it's also within line of business to actually ensure the value of the product. We have had a lot of discussions about that, but it's the business who owns it.
Excellent.
Yes.
Thank you, Ista. Before we transition, I have one more question for Issa, though, and it's probably the one that everybody is thinking about.
Where is Andreas?
What's your favorite spell from Harry Potter?
Expelliarmus.
Oh! Excellent. There we are.